Chào mừng quý vị và các bạn đến với chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam trên kênh truyền hình FBNC. Thưa quý vị, trong thời gian vừa qua thì chủ đề cải cách giáo dục đại học đang là một vấn đề thời sự được rất nhiều người quan tâm. Và trong chương trình ngày hôm nay thì chúng tôi muốn thảo luận về chủ đề này dưới góc nhìn của một trường đại học quốc tế đã có mặt từ rất sớm tại Việt Nam. Mời quý vị cùng gặp gỡ với vị khách mời của chúng ta ngày hôm nay là giáo sư Gael McDonald, là hiệu trưởng của trường đại học RMIT Vietnam. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Well, I have to say that before I forget, I have so many students from RMIT that doing internship for my programs, and I'm so impressed by their hard work and capabilities. So thank you for that.
What's different about them?
They show the confidence, they show the professional attitudes, and of course, strong English skills. So I'm so impressed. So thank you for that. Before I forget.
My pleasure.
So you are new presidents of RMIT University in Vietnam. You've been here for 6 or 7 months already?
That's right. I arrived in February of this year, just in time for TED.
How is it so far?
I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it.
So what are your top priorities and goals right now for the school?
I have 3 for the university. The first one is growth, increasing the student numbers. That's to do with the student numbers here in Ho Chi Minh City and also in Hanoi as well. The second goal that I have is in regard to raising quality. We already have fabulous quality, but I think we can do even better in regard to our teaching, our facilities, our infrastructure. And the third goal that I have is our differentiation. What's different about us? Now, you've already said that the students that you've had seem to be a bit more confident, a little bit more savvy, if you like.
Yes.
So what's different about our students and what makes that difference? And so I think the difference that we have and that we're working on to make it even more different is in regard to our engagement with industry, the fact that our students are more prepared for the roles that they're going into. And also what's different about us is, of course, the way that we teach as well.
This is something I cannot wait to ask you when you come to the program, because it comes to the impressions for many parents that I talk to when we talk about RMIT. They always think of RMIT, very expensive tuitions. And right now in the headlines of Vietnamese newspaper right now, we talk a lot about reforming the university educations, and it's the debate between for-profit and non-profit university. So I'm just wondering, what kind of model are you applying right now?
Sure. The university here is an Australian university, so our programs are exactly the same programs that are run in Melbourne. So our tuition fees come into Vietnam. We pay a small license fee back to Melbourne for the use of the programs, but all the other money stays in Vietnam, stays in the university, and is reinvested. So it's reinvested in scholarships, it's reinvested in buildings, it's reinvested in program development. So we don't have, let's say, like in a commercial situation, investors that we've got to pay money back to on an annual basis. We actually put the money back and reinvest it back into the business. So that's our model. So we're in fact a non-profit in that regard, because all of the money stays in Vietnam, none of it's repatriated other than that small license fee for use of the programs and the services and the support that we get from Melbourne.
And all that money is coming from tuition?
From tuition. Some money is coming from scholarships, and we would like more money to come from scholarships. There are a number of philanthropic opportunities. There are a number of very generous people in Vietnam that see the importance of education and want to support students that perhaps haven't had the opportunities that other students have had.
So you said that all the money got invested back to the school activities.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, so specifically, how did you allocate the monies to which activity is going to get some more money, like facilities, or you invest it back in the teachers, or how do you make decisions in what kind of activity that you invest more or less?
Just to go back, not only did we require that initial kickoff fund, but we also had to take out loans as well, because setting up a university is very expensive. So we also took out loans. And so the money, I wasn't around at the time, so difficult to say how it was apportioned. But I should imagine that it was to do initially with getting a physical presence, and Pham Ngoc Tak in District 1 was the first location. Then I think it would be to do with hiring staff, and then it would have been to do with curriculum development, curriculum adaptation. Then there are a number of other activities that need to go around the basic academic activities, and those are to do with putting in your systems, your IT systems, your administration regarding student recruitment, and student administration, and student support. Then you've got libraries to do, and you've got all the other things. So it would have been more of a rollout rather than should we put our money here or here. It would have been a series of activities as it rolled out.
But that's the beginning, but how about right now? How do you allocate the fund that you get from tuitions and all the money that you get?
Right. So we have 4 centres now. We just created a new centre. And the students that are within those centres, the tuition fee comes into the university and then is apportioned down to those centres so that they can then run their programs. So what we have is we have a centre for technology, a centre of design, a centre of commerce, and a centre for English. And the amount of money that they get depends entirely on the students. So the student tuition fee goes into those various centres. And there is obviously an administration that comes off for the employment office, for the student administration office, for the recreation. So we have to run a gym. So there's an amount that gets taken off for those administrative activities, and then the rest of it goes down into those centres, depending on how many students they have.
You said you try to make a difference for the school, coming in this 21st century with all the developments of technologies and all the changing in education's method. So what exactly are you changing right now in terms of curriculum and study method?
Sure. I think that previously it's education, particularly at the higher ed area, has been very much about content. Here's the content, we need to somehow pour it into you, get it into you somehow. So it often required a lecturer to stand at the front for quite a number of hours and try and squeeze that content in.
It's been like that for years.
That's the old model. That's the old model.
It's boring.
That model is very, very boring. So it's not about content entirely, it's about engagement. So first of all, what way do you learn the best? So can I suggest that you're actually quite an audio person? You actually prefer to see and to listen.
Prefer visual
things. So therefore, you're very much should be directed towards video content. You should be very much directed toward media-enriched type material is how you would learn. Some other students prefer to read. And so the first thing is actually working out what are the differences in the learning styles, and also how can you engage people. Now most people are engaged when they're doing things. So in other words, if you are learning about logistics and supply, give people a real problem that they can solve. So here's your real problem. You have just been donated by a mattress company in Hanoi 500 mattresses for orphanages in the South. What's the most cost-effective way that you can get those mattresses to those orphanages? Here's the real problem. Now you learn about supply chain, logistics, costing.
Very practical.
That way. So it's trying to get more what we call experiential learning. And also, why sit...
So you tackle the real problems.
The real problem. And so when you're assessed, sitting and doing an exam, is that actually really going to test you?
No.
Maybe doing a pitch for
I
a
hate
business.
exams, by the way.
Really? There you go. So, for example, in the professional communications area, the industry is very good. They come and they give a brief, a real brief from an advertising agency to the students who are working in teams, and then they've got to work on that real brief. The other benefit, of course, is that a lot of the connection that we have with industry, they will take the students as part of industry-based learning or work-based learning. So internships, as you have done.
Yeah.
And so that gives the students more practical exposure.
Sure.
And then they come back and they reflect on that. And what is it that they need to improve in order to be able to do better at that particular job?
Thank you. I'm going to get back to that after a short break with more
Okay.
questions. Thank you. Thưa quý vị, vừa rồi là những chia sẻ của giáo sư Gael McDonald, là hiệu trưởng của trường đại học RMIT Vietnam. Quý vị có thể xem lại chương trình này trên website fbnc.vn hoặc là trang Facebook của kênh FBNC tại địa chỉ là facebook.com/kinh tế tài chính TV hoặc là trang facebook.com/MC Trần Quốc Khánh để có những phản hồi và góp ý cho chúng tôi. Chúng tôi sẽ còn quay trở lại với phần tiếp theo.